In this video, we're going to walk through your Module 4 Solving Equations and Inequalities test. So let's begin. So question number 1, solve the equation for x. So I'm going to use the distributive property and multiply. So I'll get 2/3 x plus, now I'm multiplying 2/3 by 4. So I'm going to go ahead and make that a 4/1. That way I'll multiply the numerator with the numerator, giving me an 8. The denominator with the denominator, giving me 3, equals 6. So now I need to collect my like terms. So I'm going to subtract 8/3 from both sides. So I need to do 6 minus 8/3. But in order to do that, I need a common denominator. So I will use 3 as my common denominator, giving me 18/3 minus 8/3. Now that I have a common denominator, I just subtract the numerator, giving me 10/3. So I have 2/3 x equals 10/3. So in order to get rid of 2/3, I'm going to take the reciprocal and multiply it on both sides. Why does that work? Because over here I will get 6/6x, which is just 1x. And on this side I will get 30/6. But 30/6 is just 5, so the answer should be 5. Question number 2. Once again, I'll use the distributive property. So I get negative 8x plus 12 minus 8 equals 13. Combine like terms. Subtract 4 on both sides. Divide by negative 8. So x equals negative 9/8. Solve the equation for r. So we seem to get kind of stuck on these, but in all actuality, we're just solving the same way as we would if it was a normal equation. So first things first, let's recognize that I want r alone. The second thing I'm going to recognize is everything I need to get rid of to get r alone. I need to get rid of the 2, the q, and the 4. Third thing I need to recognize is in which order should these things be moved. So I'm going to get rid of 2q first, and then I'm going to get rid of the 4. So how do I get rid of 2q? By subtracting it. Since it's a positive, I'm going to subtract the whole term, leaving me with 4r equals s minus 2q. Now I need to get rid of 4, so I will divide by 4 on both sides. So r equals s minus 2q over 4. All right, for this one, I want b. So let's think about what I need to get rid of. I need to get rid of a, c, and d. And in which order? D is the furthest away. I will then go for c, which will be the second one I go for. And then I will get rid of a. So how do I get rid of d? By subtracting it. So a plus b over c equals e minus d. I subtracted d from both sides. Next, I'm going to get rid of c by multiplying it. Now you want to be careful to multiply everything on the right side by c. That leaves me with a plus b equals c times e minus d. And then to get rid of a, I'm just going to subtract it. So this tells me that b equals c times e minus d minus a. All right, this time we're going for k. So let's think about everything we need to get rid of. The m, h, and g. That's a negative m. I'll get rid of that one first. Then the g, then the 3. So I'll get rid of m by adding it. Get rid of g by dividing it. Get rid of h by subtracting it. So k equals p plus m over g minus h. Notice that minus h is tacked on at the end. I didn't do this. That would be incorrect, because then you're telling me that you've divided the h by g, and that's not what we did. G only divided p and m. So you want to watch how you place your letters, because they tell the story. All right, question 6. Fundraising drive 350 was collected for washing sedans, coupes, and sport utility vehicles. The cost of a wash for any type is $2. Twice as many coupes are washed as sedans, 4 times as many sport utility vehicles were washed as sedans. Write an equation to find how many coupes were washed. Be sure to define your variable. So the big mistake people made here was in defining their variable. Although I'm looking for coupes, I need to pay attention and recognize that what is the most important car that's been mentioned here? Sedans. Coupes was related to sedans as well as the sport utility vehicles. So actually, I want my variable to represent sedans. Once my variable represents sedans, I can build my equation. All right, so what do I know? I know that the total amount made was $350. And what made up that $350? Sedans, coupes, and sports utility vehicles, SUVs, as Destiny pointed out, because I definitely did not know that's what that stood for. Anyway, so I'm going to add those all up together. Well, sedans, I'll let be X. Coupes, I'll let be twice as many coupes, so that has to be 2X. And the SUVs is 4 times as many sedans, so that's a 4X. The other thing I want to pay attention to is that I'm charging $2 for every car that I wash. So this is my equation. When I solve it, I'll get 2X plus 4X plus 8X equals 350. So this will give me a 14X. 14X equaling 350. And then when I divide, I get 25. So 25 represents the number of sedans. Remember, the question asked for how many coupes, which was 2 times as many sedans. So my answer is 50 coupes. Farmer bought a pig weighing 30 pounds. He expects it to gain 13 pounds a month. And he wants to sell it when it weighs 212 pounds. Let's write an equation to represent the number of months it will be before he can sell the animal. So let's let X represent the number of months. I want the total to be 212 pounds. He already weighs 30, and we need to add in 13 pounds per month. We'll subtract our 30. A lot of people actually did okay on this one. So 212 minus 30 is 182. And we need to take that and divide it by the 13, which gives us 14, which represents 14 months. All right, so it's $49.50, and this is 9 less than 3 times its value at the beginning of the year. So let's X represent stock at the beginning of the year. So we will have $49.50 is our total, and this is $9 less than 3 times its value at the beginning of the year. So that's the equation we want to set up. We can add 9 to both sides, which will give us $58.50. And we're going to divide that by 3x. Or divided by 3. So x equals $19.50. That was the value at the beginning of the year. The big things with solving inequalities that people forgot is if I multiply or divide by a negative number, I have to flip the sign. Let's keep that in mind as we go. So negative 4j, I'm dividing by a negative 4. So that means j has to be less than or equal to negative 6. Remember to flip that sign. If I'm going to graph this on the number line, I'm going to use a closed dot because it has or equal to, and I want j to be less, so I'm going to go to the left. Number 10, subtract 4 from both sides. What people forgot to recognize was that this is a negative x, which means I'm not done. I need to divide by negative 1, which means this will become x is less than 0. So I have 0. I'll use an open circle on 0 and go to the left. All right, number 11, I have a little more work to do to solve. So I'm going to distribute and distribute. So negative 6x plus 30 is less than or equal to negative 10x plus 2. Go ahead and collect my like terms. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. 4x plus 30 is less than or equal 2. Subtract 30 from both sides, giving me a negative 28. Divide by 4. So x is less than or equal to negative 7. Close that dot, go to the left. A number increased by 3 is at most 7. A number increased by 3 is at most, which means it can't be any bigger than 7, which means it needs to be less than or equal to 7. The product of 3 and a number, multiplication, is no more than. That means it has to be less than or equal to the sum of 8 and 3 times that number. Lastly, a number decreased by negative 5 is at least. That means it has to be bigger than or equal to 10. Last one, members of a school booster club are creating buttons for sale at a basketball game. The machine, all right, just making sure how much time I have left. The machine to make the buttons is $45. The materials needed to make each button cost 20 cents. Write an inequality to represent the number of buttons the club has to sell to make a profit of at least $200. I feel like I'm missing something out of here. All right, this question I'm going to have to throw out because I think the one thing that's important that we didn't ask is how much are we selling the buttons for? So I'm actually just going to delete this question.